Hello. Hello. Yes. So good morning. Good morning to all of you. So I think in last class we already have talked about the non-recording type of rain gauge. So in non-recording type of rain gauge, we have discussed about the Simon rain gauge and Indian Standard or Indian Meteorological Department rain gauge. So if you have not watched that video, go to my Civil IQ playlist or channel. You can find the lecture 1 video. So today we are going to talk about the recording type of rain gauge. Okay, so what is the how many recording type of rain gauges are there? There is basically 4 type of recording type of rain gauges are there. So first one is called wagging bucket type. Second one is called as, so this one wagging bucket type. Second one is called as this is tipping bucket type, and third one is called as siphon bucket type. And in our country generally we are using siphon rain gauge. It is also called as float type rain gauge. And last one is called as, this is radar measurement. Okay, so these are the following type of rain gauge, which actually it is called recording. It is automatically, it will record the depth of the rainfall in the form of intensity, in the form of this is mass curve also. So we'll talk about in detail. So first one is called as wagging bucket type of rain gauge. So in this wagging bucket type of rain gauge, we can measure both this rainfall and we can measure both snowfall. Okay, so how we can measure the snowfall? The snow is allowed to be melt to the equivalent weight of the water. Then we can measure the depth of the water in that rain gauge or receiver. Okay, and actually this gives a cumulative rainfall depth. This gives generally a cumulative rainfall depth. Cumulative rainfall depth means generally it gives the data in cumulative format, accumulated depth of rainfall. So if you plot this one, if you take the x-axis the time, and in x-axis you take the cumulative depth of rainfall, then it will give, it is like a rainfall mass curve. Okay, so this is called cumulative, or this is called rainfall, this is mass curve. Okay, so this wagging bucket time, actually this is based working principle is based upon the spring mechanism. Okay, so a bucket, this is a bucket, this bucket actually attached in a wagging platform, and this is a spring is attached. Okay, and the rain water or the snow is allowed to fall in this bucket, and what will happen? And this spring mechanism is mounted over a clock driven chart. Okay, so when this is rainwater will be collected, then it will work. Okay, so it will work, and automatically it will, a graph will be prepared on this paper. So there is a graph paper mount over the drum, and based upon the how much rainfall is coming into the bucket, it will give the graph, and this is called as mass curve. It will give the cumulative amount of the rainfall. Okay, so and this wagging bucket type of rain gauge is used to measure all kind of precipitation. Okay, generally it is used to measure the all kind of precipitation. All kind of precipitation means it can measure the water. Okay, what is the depth of the water? It can measure the snow, it can measure sleet. Okay, etc. So it can measure all form of the precipitation. So this is the recording, and the data which you are getting from this wagging bucket time, you always remember this is called mass curve. In the form of mass curve means you are in the form of the accumulated depth of rainfall with respect to time. So now we are going to the next part, and this one is called as tipping bucket. So this one is called as tipping bucket type. Okay, this one is called as, so tipping bucket. So in this tipping bucket type of rain gauge, that is generally used in inaccessible area. Okay, that is generally used in inaccessible inaccessible areas. What is already written? Inaccessible location, where we can actually we cannot able to go to the particular location in order to measure the depth of the water or the precipitation. So in that area actually tipping bucket type of rain gauge station is used, and it is, you see, one bucket will be there and it is kept over a hinge, kept over another bucket will be there. When the rainfall amount, it is 0.25, okay, make it correct, 0.25. when the rainfall depth is become 0.25, then one tip, one rotation will occur, and the second bucket will go to the new position, original position. So this one tip actually it translate the electrical pulse signal. It is translate or transmit that electrical pulse will be received by in the office. By sitting in the office, we can receive that electrical pulse by one tip or by one rotation. So without going to the field, we can find out by calculating what is the number of tips. We can measure the precipitation, we can measure the rainfall, depth of the rainfall. Okay, so this is the, see, the rainfall is, it is entering into this funnel, and here is one tipping bucket will be there. If the rainfall depth is 0.25 mm, then one tip will come and the this bucket will go to the original position. Okay, and the excess amount of rainfall will be collected over a reservoir. Okay, that is written when 0.25 mm the bucket tipped, rotated and comes back to the new position. That type of rain gauge is called as siphon rain gauge, or this is called as float type rain gauge. Okay, and this is recommended in India. This is recommended in India. So this is basically a chamber, okay, in chamber in which a receiver, better because this is a receiver in which rainwater is collected in this funnel, and the water is coming and it is collecting in this receiver. Okay, and the float height is, float is the gradually it is floating on this water, it is gradually increasing. So at a time will come, this water will reach to a level, so due to the siphonic action, the water automatically will flow from the receiver to the outlet or to the siphon chamber. So the siphon chamber, the water automatically flow out, rain out, it will flow. So, and there is, it is actually this float is connected, on a clock driven chart, and we are getting a graph, and actually all these rain gauge actually it will give the rainfall depth in the form of intensity versus time. Okay, except this weighing bucket type, all this rain gauge will give you intensity versus time rainfall, this curve we can easily, you can interpret that one. But weighing bucket type, it will give the cumulative part, and from that cumulative part mass curve we have to extract the intensity curve. How it will happen, next I will talk about. And the last type of measurement is called as radar measurement, and this is used to measure the rainfall. So in this radar, a radio detection and ranging technique is done. Okay, so what is happen, a receiver will be there and a transmitter will be there. Okay, so this transmitter will transmit the electrical pulse, and there will be some water droplet will be there, and when this electrical pulse will be strike this water droplet, again it will be reflected back, and these are called as echoes. And they are received by this receiver. Okay, so by how much electrical pulse is reflecting back, by measuring that one, we can find out we can predict the rainfall. So this is called radar measurement rainfall over a particular area we have to do, and this is very expensive in nature. So out of this, the siphon rain gauge or float type rain gauge, that is generally used in our India. Okay, mostly it is used in our India. So next is, so whatever I told you, that is written. You see this one, so it is written. So a tipping bucket type design. So a case from the funnel falls into one of pair of small buckets are there. These buckets are so balanced that when 0.25 mm of rainfall collects in one bucket, so what will happen? It tips and brings the other in one position. What I told, that is written. The tipping actually generates, the tipping will generate an electrical driven pen to trace the record of the clock driven chart, and the record from this bucket data on the, it will generally give you intensity of rainfall. I told you that it is give the intensity of the rainfall. So the main advantage of this instrument is that it gives a electronic pulse out of that output that can be recorded at a distance from the rain gauge. So we are not manually required to go to the site in order to measure the depth of the or volume of the water will be collected, how much, not required. It will give a electrical pulse in by sitting in the office. We can detect or you can predict what is the rainfall. Second, weighing bucket time, same I told you, is it give the mask of rainfall, okay, and it is actually work on a spring mechanism, and it measures all types of the precipitation, that is precipitation due to water, precipitation due to this rainfall, precipitation due to snow, sleet, okay, and it actually gives the accumulated rainfall against time, means cumulative data it will give. It will not give the intensity. Natural siphon type, it is also called as float type rain gauge, okay, and this is the standard rain gauge, a type of rain gauge which actually used in our country, India, okay. So this, the type of rain gauge gives a plot of mass rainfall. I already told you, this is the cumulative depth of the rainfall taken, and this is the time, and this is the accumulated depth of rainfall we are measuring in weighing bucket type. Next we are talking about the snowfall. Next we are talking about the snowfall water equivalent, okay. How we can find out the equivalent of the water if some snowfall will be occur. So the water equivalent of a given snowfall is the amount of liquid precipitation contained in that snowfall, okay. The water equivalent of the snowfall is determined either weighing or melting that ice, melting that snow. The snow collected in a non-recording rain gauge is melted immediately and measured by means of ordinary measuring cylinder graduated for a rainfall measurement. So what is the snow which is collected in non-recording like Simon's rain gauge? So what we have to do? Immediately we have to collect, okay, and we have to weight that one, okay, immediately, and measure the by means of ordinary measuring cylinder. So how much weight that one, or we can melt that one. We can, after melting, we can find out what is the equivalent volume depth of the volume of the water contained by this snow. So the weighing type of recording gauge is also used to determine the water content of snowfall. I already told you this weighing type of rain gauge is used for all form of the precipitation, like this is water, sleet, snow, okay. So during period of the snowfall, the funnel of the gauge are removed. So what will happen if the snowfall will be very large size? It will clog the funnel. So what will happen during the period of the snowfall in winter season? Basically in Jammu Kashmir, we remove the funnel, okay, so that all precipitation can directly, it will be collected by the receiver. That is the thing. So next, what do you mean by rain gauge station? Okay, so rain gauge station means the place at which, the place where we have to place the rain gauge, that place is called as rain gauge station. And what particular place we have to put that rain gauge station, that is called as rain gauge station, okay. Suppose this place we are placing this rain gauge, that place is called rain gauge station. But in order to place that rain gauge station, some condition we have to satisfied. First condition is there, rain gauge should be installed over a level ground, okay. The level ground, when the ground should be not be undulated, it will be completely level ground. Second point is the minimum plot size. It is the minimum, okay, not maximum. It is the minimum plot size required, 5.5 meter into 5.5 meter. So this is the minimum plot size will be required. This is 5.5 meter and this is 5.5 meter. And the place should be open to the sky. Means suppose you are placing the rain gauge in a forest area or in a building. So there is some missing, there is some error will be formed, because we are actually not finding what is the actual amount of rainfall is collected in that one, because some of the part of the rainfall will be collected in the forest tree and some of the will be received in the high rise tall building. So the place where we are placing the rain gauge, that should be open to the sky, so in order to avoid any error. Okay, so the last point is very important, the distance or clearance. The distance or clearance means, suppose a high rise building, high rise tree is there, and from that one, what is the maximum distance, what is the minimum distance will be required to keep the rain gauge station. Okay, so that is called the clearance distance between the rain gauge and nearest tall object, such as a tree or building. So this must be twice the height of the object, twice the height of the objects, or this is 30 centimeter, whichever is more. Okay, suppose this is the building, this is the building, and height of the building is h, and this rain gauge we have to place at a distance of how much? This is 2 times of the height of the building, or 30 meter, whichever is more. Okay, so that is the thing. So next is called how much rain gauge we have to put in a particular area. What should be the density of the rain gauge? We cannot arbitrarily, we cannot put the rain gauge in everywhere. So what should be the density of the rain gauge? We have to be put in a particular area. So this thing, it is mentioned by IS code. Okay, Indian Standard Code, it has recommended you have to follow this one. So density means what? That is called number of rain gauge per area. In hydrology it is called density of the rain gauge, means how much number of rain gauge we are placing per area. So for first, what is saying, for flat and plain catchment, for flat and plain catchment, so it is not required very large number of rain gauge. So every 520 kilometers square, for every 520 kilometers square we have to place one rain gauge. If catchment is elevated above 1000 meter from the mean sea level, or now it is benchmark we are taking as Bombay. Okay, so if the catchment is elevated 1000 meter above the benchmark, then we have to place one rain gauge in every 260 to 390 kilometers square. And in mountain and hilly region, we have to place one rain gauge in every 130 kilometers square. You have to remember. For plain is how much? One rain gauge in every 520 kilometers square. If the catchment is elevated above 1000 meter above the benchmark, we have to place one rain gauge in every 260 to 390 kilometers square. In mountain or hilly region, we have to place one rain gauge in every 130 kilometers square. So density of the rain gauge is increases with elevation. Okay, in hilly region you see every means in order to achieve the high degree of accuracy, we have to use large density of the rain gauge in a small area. So there is a Indian Meteorological Department, it has been stated one very important point. So total number of rain gauge we are actually, how many number of rain gauge we are placing in a particular area, that must be of 10% of the total rain gauge should be of recording type. Okay, so the important point is, if the density of the rain gauge is increases in a particular catchment, we get the high accuracy, we get the data in a very high degree of accuracy. If the density increases, there is accuracy will increases. Okay, but how much, what is the optimum? So that's why Indian Meteorological Department has recommended at least 10% of the total rain gauge must be of recording type. Okay, at least 10% of the total rain gauge recording type, then you will get the high degree of accuracy. All recording rain gauge we cannot place non-recording time. At least 10% of the total rain gauge which are providing in a particular area must be of recording type. This is very important objective question. So now we are talking about now we have to see how much rain gauge we can provide. Okay, suppose what is the optimum number of rain gauge we should provide in a particular catchment area? How much? What is the maximum? Not maximum or minimum, optimum. Okay, so this is a catchment area, this is a particular catchment area, and P1, P2, P3 is called annual average rainfall value. Annual average rainfall value means, suppose we are collecting the data for 24 hours. in a particular area, that is called daily rainfall. And if you take the average for 1 year, that is called annual rainfall. And if you take that average of that annual rainfall for 35 years, for how much? For 35 years, that is called as annual average rainfall value. Okay, so that is called P1, P2, P3, Pm is called annual average rainfall value recorded by the existing rain gauge station at 1 to m. Suppose this is the annual average rainfall value, where actually it is measured by the rain gauge station placing in 1 to m point. So we have to what? We have to, in order to find out the optimum number of the rain gauge, we have to follow the statistical analysis. We have to follow the, because this rainfall is a random event. Okay, so we cannot predict the rainfall accurately. Okay, so this is a random event, so we have to go to the statistical analysis part. So in order to find out the optimum number of the rain gauge, we have to follow the statistical analysis. So this is a step procedure. So procedure for the statistical analysis is, so first step, find the mean of the rainfall. What is the annual average rainfall is there, you have to find out the mean. What is the mean? Summation of the total Pi by what is the number of rain gauge is already provided. Number of rain gauge is provided. Okay, we have to calculate what is the required, we have to find out, but how much actually provided you have to take. So this P bar is how much? P1 plus P2 plus P3, like this Pm by m. Now next we have to find out standard deviation. Standard deviation, why actually we are finding? We have to see how the data, how much there is a variation of individual data from the mean part. That is called standard deviation. So standard deviation we have to find out. So this is summation of Pi minus P bar whole square divided by n minus 1. Standard deviation we find out. Third step we have to find out the coefficient of variation. So coefficient of variation is sigma by the standard deviation by this mean into this 100. So the coefficient variation already expressed in percentage. Okay, it is expressed in percentage. For an allowable or admissible percentage of error in measuring the mean rainfall optimum number, so this allowable degree of error will be given to you. It should not be more than 10%. Remember, this degree of error which you are allowing, that should not be more than 10%. So this is the number of rain gauge. This is the number of rain gauge required. This is the number of rain gauge. This is required. What is the required? Cv by a to the power whole square. This is required. So now you tell me, if required is more than provided, what is that? That is called deficient. If provided is more than required, that is called sufficient. So we have to see whether we are providing less than optimum or we are providing more than optimum. That's for we are calculating the optimum number of the rain gauge in a particular area. Now you see, so now the percentage of accuracy of the rainfall data is how much? Error is E will be given. So if we have to find out what is the accuracy of the rainfall data, that is 100 minus E. Okay, so note, the first is if the n is more, if the required is more than provided. If the required is more than provided, then that is called one deficient will be there. I mean, additional rain gauge station to be required to put there. That data we are not will get consistent or accurate. So additional number of rain gauge is proposed. How much? That is how much required minus provided. That is called additional number of rain gauge station. So if the required is required is less than provided, so provided is more, then that is called sufficient. Okay, not required any other rain gauge, it is sufficient. So you see, if the coefficient of variation is more, then what will happen? The number of rain gauge required will be more. If data will be more scattered, then in order to find out the more accurate data, we have to find out the accurate reading, so we have to provide more number of the this rain gauge station. So if the coefficient of variation is less, means standard deviation also less. So coefficient variation is less, means standard deviation also less. So this number of rain gauge station required is inversely proportional to E. If the number of rain gauge station will be more, then we get the data in more accurately, so that degree of the error will decreases. That's why the number of rain gauge station is inversely proportional to E. See, E is inversely proportional to accuracy. So if the error is increases, accuracy decreases. So that is also inversely proportional to the accuracy. Now you see sigma is inversely proportional to M. So if the number of rain gauge station provided is more rain gauge you are providing in a particular area, then the standard deviation will be less, because from the mean part the individual data will not vary that much. Okay, so if the provided amount of rain gauge will be more, then the standard deviation will be less. That is the thing. So now you have to, what is the data we are getting? We have to, before using the rainfall data recorded by the various rain gauge in hydrological analysis, we are actually collecting the data. So in order to apply this data in a hydrological analysis, so data first to be verified. The data to be verified in two conditions. What is the first condition? Continuity. Second one is consistency. So continuity can be verified by two methods, simple arithmetic method, and that is called normal ratio method. Okay, that is called simple, means if some missing rainfall data will be there, means suppose in some particular area, suppose 3 rain gauge station are there, from the 3 rain gauge station, out of the 3 rain gauge station, one of the rain gauge station is not working, so the data cannot be there is some missing rainfall data will be there. Okay, so we have to find out the missing rainfall data. So how we can find out? See, that is called estimation of the missing rainfall data. This is the continuity part. Okay, so so now suppose P1, P2, P3 are, this is the catchment, this is the particular catchment area. Okay, this is called catchment area, and P1, P2, P3 frame are called average annual rainfall value. Average annual rainfall value recorded by various rain gauge station 1 to M. Okay, suppose during this period this station X, suppose this station X is not working, this station is not working. So what is happened? This station X was missed in recording the rainfall data, it will not record the rainfall data. So and N1, N2, N3, Nx, Nm are called normal annual rainfall value. Normal annual rainfall value means that 30 years average rainfall data. Okay, 30 years average rainfall data you take, that is called normal annual rainfall values. Okay, so P1, P2, P3 are called what is called average annual rainfall value. N1, N2, N3, Nm, Nx or Nm are called 30 years average annual rainfall values. Okay, now we have to check for two things. First thing, if this N1, N2, Nm is equal to Nx plus minus 10% of Nx. Okay, means this normal values of 1 to M station are lies within this range. Within this range means suppose these values are rising within this Nx plus 10% of Nx, Nx minus 10% of Nx, then simply you have to use the arithmetic mean method. Arithmetic mean method you have to use. So Px, the missing rainfall data at X station, so this is X station, we can find out by simply arithmetic mean, Pi by this is M. If this value are within this Nx plus minus 10% of Nx, if this value are not lies within this range, what will happen? So there is another process, another method is there, that is called normal ratio method. Okay, that is normal ratio. If this N1, N2, N3 are not lies in between this range, okay, so if this is the range, this is called Nx plus 10% of Nx, and this is called Nx minus 10% of. If all this value N1, N2 and Nm are not lies, so something is greater, anyone is greater, okay, not all, anyone is not live within this range, then you have to go for the normal ratio method. Normal ratio method is how, what? The Px, the rainfall at this missing station, missing rain gauge station, is Nx by M. M is how much provided, how much rain gauge station are we are providing. So M is the number of rain gauge station we are providing. Okay, that is P1 by N1, P2 by N2, P3 by N3 and Py. This is called normal ratio method. So first thing you have to, in order to finding out the missing rainfall data, you have to check two conditions. If the normal values of other station which are in working condition are lies in between this nx plus minus 10% of nx, then you have to use simple arithmetic mean method. If this value are not lies within this range, any one of the value is not right, suppose n1 is not lies but others are lie within this range, then also you have to go for normal ratio method. Any one of the value is not lie within this range, then directly you follow normal ratio method. Then the last part is called consistency. Okay, so now you have to check for the consistency of the rainfall data. So consistency of the rainfall data actually at any station is verified by using double mass curve. You have to verify it by using double mass curve. Double mass curve means what? In y-axis you have to take the cumulative annual average rainfall of the station which is not working, or the station which you have to verify the consistency, that you have to take cumulative annual average rainfall of that one. And in x-axis you have to take cumulative mean annual rainfall of the station which are consistent. Where consistent, there is not required to find out the inconsistency. There is no required to check the inconsistency. So x-axis the consistent data you have to take, and y-axis inconsistent data you have to take. So suppose this curve A, this is the consistent data is curve A. Okay, now if you see from this point the data is, some data is missing, means it is not following this curve, it is not following this line, so it is following this line, means what? This is inconsistent. So what you have, actually this curve has to follow this line. Okay, so how to find out this corrected consistent rainfall data? The slope will be equal. So you have to, this is PA, this is MA. PA is called actual inconsistent rainfall data, MA called slope of the actual curve which is inconsistent. So this is PC will be equal to PA, you have to direct, you have to see PC by MC will be equal to PA by MA. MA is called slope of the corrected curve, PC is called corrected consistent rainfall data. Okay, and PA is called actual inconsistent rainfall data, so you can find out the corrected part. Okay, this is the formula you have to use. So inconsistency of the data can be verified by using double mass curve technique. Okay, double mass curve technique. Continuity, how we can find out? By using normal ratio method, simple arithmetic mean method. So this is the thing. Now we have to present the rainfall data. Okay, presentation of the rainfall data. How much, what are the data are collected? Now the data are subjected to hydrological analysis, but before it will subjected to hydrological analysis, we have to present. Okay, you have to present data in some format. So there is various type of present format are there. First one is called rainfall mass curve. Second one is called rainfall hyetograph. Third one is called depth area duration curve. Fourth one is called intensity duration curve. And fifth one is called depth duration frequency. So rainfall mass curve means, I already told you, the weighing bucket type of the rain gauge, okay, recording rain gauge, that is actually give the data in the form of the cumulative depth of the rainfall, that is called mass curve. What do you mean by mass curve? I told you the recording type of rain gauge, that is called weighing bucket type. Okay, weighing bucket type of the rain gauge, it is record the rainfall data in the form of the rainfall mass curve. What is rainfall mass curve? It is a plot between accumulated rainfall versus time. Accumulated means cumulative, it will add like that, it will add. So this, in y-axis we have to take the cumulative rainfall in millimeter, in x-axis the time. So this is called rainfall mass curve. So suppose in this one the intensity is 0, means what? The rainfall is stopped. This is the first storm. Again it is increasing, means the second storm has been started. Again it will, the intensity 0 means the rainfall is stopped. So this is the point we can say the rainfall is stopped at this particular point. At this point again the rainfall is started, that is second storm. Okay. So what is the disadvantage of this rainfall mass curve? The disadvantage of the rainfall mass curve, which is difficult to read, interpolate and use the mass curve. So it is not actually easy to interpret the data correctly. So so how we can use the rainfall mass curve? So now we have to convert the rainfall mass curve into a rainfall hyetograph, which is actually very easy to use, very easy to analyze or interpret, very easy. Okay, so rainfall hyetograph is what is it? Is a bar chart or bar diagram that is called a histogram. Okay, this is a bar diagram or histogram. So it is actually derived from where? It is derived from the mass curve. Okay, so hyetograph is a plot between intensity of the rainfall versus time. That is, a mass curve is called accumulated depth of the rainfall versus time, but hyetograph is called intensity of the rainfall versus time. So how we can derive? Now you see. So this is the called mass curve. This is called mass curve. So we have to choose any particular time. In that time, what is the corresponding rainfall? That is, P1 is the depth of the rainfall we have find. So now suppose that duration is T2, and suppose in the duration T2 the depth of rainfall is P2. So this is the mass curve. Now intensity of the mass curve means what you have to find out what is the change in, or what is the change in precipitation with change in the duration. Okay, so if you find out this duration is I, so I1, so that is called how much? This is P2 minus P1 by this is T2 minus T1. So you just extend this line, and this line is called, this is the duration in which the intensity is I is this much, P2 minus P1 by T2 minus T1. This is the intensity of the rainfall. So bar diagram is easy to use, you can see and you can interpret very easily. So see, the dp by dt is how much? This is P2 by minus P2 minus P1 by T2 minus T1. If somebody will ask you what is the area between this hyetograph, will give you the area between this hyetograph. Okay, if they find out the area of the hyetograph, if you find out the area of the hyetograph, that will give you the total depth of the rainfall, total depth of rainfall, so how much rainfall has been occurred. So similarly, this is the intensity of the rainfall you choose in y-axis, and there is the duration of the rainfall you choose in this x-axis. Okay, so this is the I1 intensity of the rainfall. Again the intensity will increases, intensity will maximum, then the storm will stop, again the intensity will gradually will decreases. So if you find the area of the intensity duration curve, intensity curve, okay, hyetograph, you find out the area of the hyetograph, it will give the total depth of the rainfall within that duration. That has been written here. So now if you find out, so this is the hyetograph, so this is called hyetograph, or this is called histogram, basically called as hyetograph. If you find out the total rainfall, how we find out? So total area of the hyetograph you have to find out. Total area is how much? So this I1 into this this area, I1 into the rectangular area, I1 into this T1. Okay, so this is actually I1, this height I1, and this duration is how much? This is T1. Similarly, you have to do this is I2 into this T2 minus T1. So if you see, so this is actually summation of II into Ti 0 to 2, 0 to T. You have to find out this area. Suppose in this one hyetograph, suppose you have to find out what is the rainfall has been occurred in between this time T1 to T3. Okay, T1 to T3 you have to find out. So how do you have to find out? You have to find out the area of the hyetograph in between this one. So area of the hyetograph between this T1 to T3. So simply you have to find out I2 into this duration T2 minus T1 plus this is I3 into this T3 minus T2. So this is the area you have to find out, summation, directly you can summation. Now this is called depth area duration curve. So depth area duration curve, it has been actually described by using this relation. P will be equal to P0 into e to the minus k a to the power n. P is called what? P is called as depth of the rainfall, and P0 is the depth of the rain at storm center. At storm center, what is the depth of the rainfall? A is the area over which the rainfall is occurring, or the catchment area over which the rainfall is occurring, that is called area. And this K and A are called constant. Okay, so now if you see, depth you take in y-axis and area you take the x-axis, and t1, t2, 3 are called duration of the storm. Okay, duration of the storm, and the exponential it is decreasing, exponential it is decreasing. Okay, now you have to take the various case. Okay, so first case you see, now suppose the duration of the storm you will take is constant, duration of the storm is constant. Now you see the changing, how the depth is changing with respect to area. So now suppose this particular A1 area, the corresponding depth will be D1. Now as the area is decreasing, the depth of the rainfall is increasing. So I can say for particular duration, if the duration of the rainfall is constant, the depth is inversely proportional to area. If area decreases, then depth will be increases. Okay, so now you see the case 2. In the case 2, same, if the area is increases, what will happen? The depth is decreasing. So this is the area corresponding area depth of the rainfall. Now if the area is increasing to A1, the depth of the rainfall is decreasing. Okay, so now you see the next case. So next case is, so this third case is saying, suppose now this area we are keeping as constant, area is not changing, the particular area on which the rainfall is occurring, that is not changing, but we can find out the variation of the depth with respect to duration. Suppose that for a particular T1 duration, this area, the depth of the rainfall is, this is D1. Okay, now as the duration of the rainfall is increasing to this T2, the depth of the duration of the rainfall is increasing to T2. Now for a particular catchment area, fixed catchment, fixed area on which the rainfall is occurring, now the depth is increasing. Okay, so now here see, as the duration is increases, the depth of rainfall is increases. If the area is constant, the area of catchment is constant, the duration increases, depth of the rainfall also increases. Now you see the fourth case. Suppose we are actually assuming the depth to be constant, the depth of the rainfall is not changing, it is constant. Now if you see, for particular duration of the rainfall, so this is the area A1. Okay, now as the duration of the rainfall increases for a particular fixed depth, what will happen? This area also it is increasing. For a particular depth, so if duration of the rainfall increases, the area on which the rainfall is happening, the area also is increases. That is the relation. Now you tell me this question. So now here is area is constant, area of the catchment is given you 10 to the power 4 kilometer square. Now the duration of the rainfall is increasing 1 day to 3 day. So what is happening? Suppose this is the depth of the rainfall is 47 centimeter. So as the duration is increasing, definitely the depth of the rainfall also will increases. It is greater than 47 centimeter. Now this is the type of the data by which we can present, that is called intensity duration frequency curve. So this is the equation by which you can explain I equal to K T to the power X by D plus A to the power N. Why? What is I? I is called intensity of the rainfall, D is called duration of the rainfall, and T is called frequency. Frequency of the rainfall means at what particular period the rainfall is happening. Okay, at what particular frequency. So K1, X1 and N are constant. Frequency is what? Time of interval between this occurring of the events. Okay, that is called frequency. Now you see, so now this is the intensity of the rainfall we taken in y-axis and duration of the rainfall. Now this is called frequency of the rainfall. Okay, so similarly you can, I think, interpolate. You just interpret this one. If this frequency of rainfall is keeping constant, then what is happening to intensity and duration? If the duration of the rainfall is increasing, we can interpret very easily. So same thing I have done here. So now suppose we have chosen the first case. In the first case, the intensity of the rainfall is keeping as constant. So for this particular intensity and for particular frequency, the duration is T1. Okay, if the frequency is now increasing, more frequently the rainfall is happening, if the frequency is happening, for that intensity of the rainfall, the duration also increases. Okay, so as the frequency is directly proportional to the rainfall duration. that is happening. So case 2 is what I say. Suppose the frequency of rainfall we are taking as constant. So suppose this is the for particular duration T1, this is the intensity I1. Now as the duration of the rainfall is increasing, the intensity also decreasing. That's why I is equal to P by T. If the duration of the rainfall increases, the intensity of the rainfall decreases. Now this is the third case. Third case, suppose same thing. Here the frequencies remain constant. As the duration is decreases, the intensity is increasing. Now fourth case is suppose the duration of the rainfall is constant. Duration of the rainfall is constant. Now if the frequency of the rainfall is increases, the intensity of the rainfall also is increasing. Okay. Last one is called, this is called depth, duration, frequency. So depth, duration, frequency. So this is depth, this is duration, and this is frequency. So it is opposite. Okay. Now I think you can interpret. This is assignment to you. You can interpret with yourself. So next class we are going to see about the mean precipitation. Just I am giving you overall idea. Mean precipitation means what? Suppose this P1, P2, P3, Pn are called average annual value. Average annual value which is collected in the rain gauge station, and that is called point sampling data. That is called point sampling data. So in order to convert this point sampling data into a mean precipitation, and that mean precipitation you will represent the entire precipitation of that particular catchment. Okay, that is called. So there is various method by which you can convert the point sampling data to mean precipitation. Okay, the following methods are arithmetic mean method, Thyssen polygon method, and isoheital method. And this isoheital method is called as most accurate method. Okay, so the rainfall value which are recorded by the various rain gauge station represent the point sampling data, and that is called the point sampling of areal distribution of a storm. In order to convert many point rainfall values into a single rainfall, that is called as mean precipitation of which represent the entire catchment. Okay, that is called mean. So these P1, P2, P3 are called point sampling data. Okay, so now we have to find out this P bar. What is this P bar? It will represent the precipitation of the entire catchment. Okay, monitor in a classroom, 10 students will be there. Who will become the monitor? So there is different way to find out the monitor. We can say that he is the representative of our class, like this one. So different method are called. First one is called arithmetic mean method. This arithmetic mean method generally it is used when is satisfying these three conditions. When it satisfies the three conditions, we use the arithmetic mean method. So this arithmetic mean method that is used applicable for flat and plain catchment. And these rain gauges are uniformly distributed, must be this uniformly distributed, and the rainfall value which is recorded at various rain gauges show little variation. There is not that much variation will be there. So very less variation it will show. Okay, so then you have to use this arithmetic mean method. Arithmetic mean method means what? Simply you have to take arithmetic mean. Okay, so this is the thing. In next class we will start again this topic, mean precipitation, in detail. So I hope you are enjoying this session. If you like my session, please share and like this video so that it will many students during this period will benefited through this lecture. So thank you.